Citizens of the internet, I am back for another exciting. My glasses are still not quite even as I'd like them to be, but I'm back for another exciting episode of the Politics Show, and a little bit of a change of kind of mentality right now. First of all, I want to make sure that everything's functional because last time I did this, my audio didn't come out quite the way I'd hoped. And I just got this snazzy new mic stand. So I want to make sure that everything's golden. But I think, the great Donald Rumsfeld once said, you go to war with the army you have, not the army you want. And I think what I've been kind of doing the last couple of months is just trying to do a lot more than I should by myself. And I don't think that serves the quality of what I do. So with that, what I decided was I'm going to start doing kind of one-off topic shows. Unless I have the time to put stuff together beforehand, I don't think it ever turns out as good as I would like it to. So there you have it. Today we are going to talk about ICE and the recent spate of ICE raids that and protests that have broken out, and even the killing of Americans by ICE stormtroopers. As we've seen, we saw this same dynamic with the Black Lives Matter protests, I feel like. And then under Biden, it was Gaza protests. But I digress. Let's get into it right now with my beautiful, clever thumbnail here of Vanilla Ice in front of burning cars and protests that accurately sums up the theme of today's conversation, which is Ice, Ice, Baby. So I want to kind of start today with just my basic kind of outlook on everything that's going on, because things are happening at a breakneck pace. Things are going. Every time I get on to, do an update on the Ukraine war, for example, it's 5 steps ahead of where it was when I kind of started putting a bit together. So I think that this, just having these kind of more in-depth conversations about single topics will both serve myself and my viewers a little bit better, as minuscule as that number may be at the moment. I appreciate each and every one of them, and I want to do right by them. So Ice, Ice, Baby. I think one of the first things, when I saw the shooting of Renee Good happen, first of all, my mother's name is Renee, so that it definitely hit me a little close. But also, I was like, her name is Renee Good. What's the cop's name? Joe Bad or Joey Badass or something like that. Like, what is going on here? This just the very name of the woman seems almost like it's a giant psyop. And psyop it is, as I'm about to show you here. So I think that there's a tendency for a lot of people like myself to be, always err on the side of the oppressed, the underdog. That's kind of like where I've always thrown my lot in, so to speak. And so when you see someone being murdered by a police officer or ICE agent or any kind of authority figure playing judge, jury, and executor, I immediately fall in on the side of the victim, because we're supposed to be a country with, a judicial system that allows people due process and all that. And I feel that way regardless of that person's politics, whether it is Renee Good, whether it is Ashley Babbitt, whether it is George Floyd, whether it is, is Seth Rich, or any of the people who have been, any of the people that were murdered at the Israeli embassy or whatever, I instantly, I mean, those people weren't murdered by cops, but that's a whole other issue for another day. And I think a lot of people, in my circles of friends and in my, kind of social circles are that way. And, that's expected. If you're a decent human being, that's how you should be, right? So it doesn't surprise me when I see stuff like this, where you have this congressman here, Mike Quigley, and he's kind of, he's a congressman. So the idea that he's on the side of the oppressed is kind of laughable premise to begin with. But look at what he says here. He says ICE isn't going after the worst. This morning, hold on a second. Let me enlarge this a little bit. So he's saying ICE isn't going after the worst of the worst. This morning, they took a preschool teacher without a warrant in front of children in my district. So right off the bat, you're like, wow, that's pretty scummy. And let's watch the footage just so you can see exactly how dramatic this incident was, because it was quite dramatic. One of the things I did notice right off the bat is the guy on the left isn't wearing a mask. So yeah, that looks horrific. That looks absolutely horrific. It looks terrible. And my first reaction to something like that is to go, "What the hell?" Because I'm a human being who has kind of empathy and is not a big fan of police, if I'm being completely honest. I know they're just doing their job, a lot of them, but haven't had a lot of good. I've been arrested myself on a couple occasions. I'm not going to get into the details there, but let's just put it. I have experience with this type of thing. So right off the bat, you have this kind of horrific imagery swirling around of this woman being yanked from a daycare, where you would assume she was dropping off her child or something. And so I think that is just the reasonable response to something like this. And, whether one thing I will say about this Quigley guy, I went to look to see if he was a Republican or a Democrat. And I thought this was interesting. And nowhere on his profile or his website does it mention that he's a Democrat. Like, if you look at his profile, he says, representing Illinois' 5th District, House Appropriations, an Intel member, amateur hockey player, pro Cubs fan, he, him. Nowhere on there does it say Democrat. Same thing for this guy's website. You go to his website, there is no mention of that he's a Democrat. I had to go to Wikipedia to find out what party he belonged to. I assumed he was a Democrat, and he is. But I thought that was kind of an interesting side note. So then you get to this, and, this is always interesting. ICE did not target a daycare teacher. Agents attempted to stop a vehicle registered to a Colombian illegal alien. I don't like that term, but whatever. That's what these what's the word? Extremists, anti-immigration extremists. I guess that's the term I would use illegal alien, as if like this is not a person. It's a human being. Illegal immigrant, fine. Undocumented immigrant, fine. But the male driver refused to pull over. After a chase, the pair fled into a daycare, endangering children inside. The woman was arrested in the vestibule, not inside the school, and gave a false identity. So that's the second side to the story. Now, as we all know, there's 3 sides to every story: yours, mine, and the truth. So I would imagine, having all this data now, that the truth is somewhere in between, the hysterical, like, look at what ICE is doing people, and the hysterical fascist, let's fucking crack everyone in the skulls and make an example and just grab people wherever they are people. Usually it's right there in the middle. So I think one of the things so here's kind of the final word from the Homeland Security account here. Congressman, you're deliberately misrepresenting the facts. ICE law enforcement did not target daycare and were only at this location because the female illegal alien fled inside. So we have these people at the very top using this kind of terse language. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I'm just saying I don't necessarily agree with that framing. Here's the real story. Officers attempted to conduct a targeted traffic stop of this female illegal alien from Columbine. I like how they have to repeat that illegal alien term. Officers attempted to pull over this vehicle, which was registered to a female illegal alien with sirens. There's the third illegal alien in the Homeland Security post with sirens and emergency lights, but the male driver refused to pull the vehicle over. Law enforcement pursued the vehicle before the assailant sped into the shopping plaza, where he and the female passenger fled. I'm glad they didn't say illegal alien again. Where he and the female passenger fled the vehicle, they ran into a daycare and attempted to barricade themselves inside the daycare, recklessly endangering the children inside. That seems a little extreme, like recklessly endangering the children. Again, three sides to every story. The illegal alien female was arrested inside the vestibule, not in the school. The vehicle is registered to her name, though she claims that she didn't know the man who was driving her car and just picked him up from a bus stop. Facts, including criminality and information on the male assistant, are forthcoming, and we will update the public with more information as soon as it becomes available. So again, I'm not taking these guys at their word either, but there's a little bit of a gray area in here where I feel like people are obviously twisting this to their own advantage, just depending on what their political viewpoints might be, right? Which is what American politics is in this day and age. So then you have, so right off the bat, okay, you have these kind of incidents like this, which are, being played up for political reasons, and I think being kind of distorted to people to create this really anti-ICE sentiment. Not that it didn't exist anyway, but it really kind of like percolates it and brings it to a boil. And then you have the claims that the protests are manufactured or paid for. And I think this comes up with everything, that protesters are being paid. I'm going to show you in a lot of cases they're actually not being paid. I'm not denying that there might be paid protesters at some of these things, but I'm also going to show you that even though there aren't necessarily paid protesters at everything, there's definitely a rightful skepticism about the nature of these protests and the organic or the authenticity of them. And we're going to get way into that in just a second, but I want to start by just showing you this next slide from, this is an account that it can be a little bit much sometimes, but a lot of times they'll have some good information. So this is what they say with this post. Exposed, the California rep Carl DeMaio confirms Democrats are paying for ICE riots. Okay, so Democrats are paying for the ICE riots. Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, Democratic politicians called on people to go into the streets. They fund the organizations that are organizing these protests. We found over $34 million with the Coalition for Immigrant Humane Rights in Los Angeles, $34 million in state taxpayer money. They're the lead organization not only organizing these protests, they run a hotline telling people where ICE agents are and where they should be deploying to. So they're basically giving people their assignments as to where they're to show up and attack ICE agents. And then finally, they try to shift the blame to Donald Trump. This blame is uniquely at the feet of Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, and the other Democrats that have created a complete mess out here with their sanctuary state policies and actually have had very heavy hand in organizing these protests. We even found politicians from the state assembly participating in these protests and urging people to get more aggressive. So, that sounds a little hysterical, but there actually is a little bit of truth to that. And I think what gets lost on people, these guys are obviously kind of hyping up the politics of it, like as if Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass are somehow like responsible for it. I don't think that's the case. I think they're probably obviously using it to their political advantage where they can, right? But my damn lopsided glasses are really starting to piss me off. Anyway. So what you have here, right, is a couple of dynamics at play. You have the people who I said at the beginning, I think are genuinely well-intentioned, and like myself, kind of instantly lean towards the underdogs in the story and want to protect the people who are downtrodden, the disaffected, the underdogs. And that I think gets used politically to manipulate, people's goodwill towards a political, kind of thought process that they might not be kind of fully, grasping or thinking about, really, basically, and the reason I say that is that I went to Google and I just did a quick search for anti-ICE NGOs, and take a look at this. This is crazy. So these are all like suggested searches that come up, right? And then look at this: Immigrant Defense Project, Fighting Justice, Abolish ICE, Join the Movement, Take Action, National Immigration Law Center, National. Look at all these NGOs. And the reason I wanted to show you this is not because I think that they're necessarily wrong to be, sending people to watch ICE or to kind of protest or whatever, but just to show you that this is a cottage industry. This is an industry, folks, where there's so much money in this that of course you're going to have it. And especially if it looks like it's going to hurt Donald Trump, and it's kind of like, it's the same color revolution strategy that we see the intelligence community running in other countries. They run it here all the time. And they were, as we've discussed in previous episodes about the Smith Modernization Act, where they kind of took the gates off from between, overseas propaganda and propaganda at home. This is all totally legal. It's like a government slush fund where they send all this money. And so to stay relevant, they almost have to do stuff like this. They almost have to kind of organize these types of protests and be in opposition to the, current administration or whoever holds the reins of that, which I'm going to get in. A lot of people don't think about this either, but Marco Rubio, he handed it off to a guy named Russell Volt. But up until like the middle of last year, Marco Rubio was running USAID. USAID has not gone away. So I also want to show you this on the other side of the trickery in this debate is there are AI fakes at play. And this is one of them that I found earlier that I think is worth a look. Watch this. So this guy says, yeah, dude's getting paid $20 per hour to protest. This isn't organic. Nobody cares about a woman who committed a terrorist act against an ICE agent.
Nope.
So listen,
what brings you out here all day in the cold?
Just out here, man, showing support.
Are you getting paid to be here?
Yeah, they give us some money.
They pay you?
Yeah, 20 an hour.
You got a job?
Not right now.
You working anywhere?
So look at this. That looks pretty fucking legit. And if it didn't have this Sora watermark, you might not know this, but here it is. Readers added context they thought people might want to know. This video is AI generated using OpenAI's Sora. As shown by the Sora watermarks, it does not depict real events. Look at how good the quality of this is. I mean, every conservative that saw this that hates black people, I'm sure was like, oh yeah, those damn black people out there, bro, they're getting paid to protest, don't have a job, because it feeds their worldview. Look at this. This is pretty fucking. It looks real.
Not right now.
You working anywhere at all?
No.
So you don't have a job?
Nope.
Yeah, like when I first saw this too, I'm like, you think a guy's really gonna say that to like some white podcaster who's clearly like pushing a right-wing agenda? You have a job? No. No one in their right mind is gonna say that. So anyway, if you think this is a one-sided thing, you're tripping, because I guarantee you a lot of these ICE arrest videos you see where they're wearing masks and everything are also AI generated to make you pissed off so you'll go to these protests. And this is what I'm trying to say is, I've been very encouraged by how smart I think Americans are and how wise people are and how red-pilled and wise they are to this kind of nonsense. But it's getting more and more difficult to discern. And I just hope that everyone will approach this kind of stuff with a very, skeptical mindset. So I also just wanted to show you one other thing. This is another one of the kind of things that I came across while I was doing my research on this. This is a like anarchist group from Portland who is promoting and abolish ICE, anti-ICE protests. They ain't paying no one for this stuff, but they have, it says no peace for ICE agents, protest and block party. And, it's time to turn up the heat on ICE. They've kidnapped many names. So you kind of have a combination of both, these paid organized NGOs and, of course, just like regular civil rights, political action groups, or these guys would probably be considered Antifa or whatever, out there kind of in response to this. And I think that the problem with this, like I said before, is that there's all these kind of different factors at play. Like, first of all, you have the goodwill thing. Everybody's got this like goodwill mindset, which I totally understand. I have it too. Like if I saw police brutalizing someone outside in my street by my house, I would be out there trying to help, and so I kind of understand that. So there's that block you have. Then you have this kind of NGO portion where there is organized money and propaganda to get people out in the streets. They're, like we showed you, they're setting up kind of like, here's where they're going to be getting people go get in their way type events. And so it's almost like they wanted this stuff to happen in a lot of ways. I mean, it's not almost like they did. They totally did. They wanted someone to get killed to ratchet up, the anger more. They're pulling a crank with this. And the more people they can get out in front of ICE agents and get in the way, get in between and causing problems, the more likelihood is that this is going to happen again. And so here's a video. I just want to show you an example of what not to do. Watch this. This is an anti-ICE protest. This kid, these agents are trying to get out of their truck, and this kid, just watch. Tries to shut the door. They jump in. They smashed that kid. Get back! Okay. Can we all just admit that was a very fucking stupid thing to do? And this is what they're encouraging, right? They're encouraging people to go out and get in front of these agents and do shit like this so they get their heads cracked. And it's just, it's so stupid because, and listen, again, I don't advocate for the ICE mentality. I'm not a fascist. I don't want a police state. But the reality is this is what we have. This is the world we live in. And a lot of people are out here trying to pretend like, oh, well, if only we had elected Kamala, this wouldn't be happening. But I want to remind you, I want to take you on a quick trip down memory lane right here and show you footage I assembled from Gaza protests at colleges last year while Joe Biden was president. I'm going to turn the volume down because they fucking copyright strike me for using Proud to be an American. But this is from last summer when there were protests at colleges over the Gaza offensive and the genocide. So the idea that this is like some unique thing to Trump is laughable at best, because these these guys are every bit as brutal as the ICE people are. They're the same armed stormtroopers that, whether you vote for a Democrat or a Republican, you get this. Here, let me give you just a little taste of the music again for a second. Last time I ran this with the sound up, they copyright striked me for using "God Bless America." Who I forget the dickhead who wrote that song, Lee something. Oh God. But that's what they do. That's how they censor you from showing this footage. Oh, you do copyright strike on God Bless America. Yeah, because it's funny to play God Bless America to this footage, you assholes. Now, to be fair, this UCLA protest wasn't actually cops. That was Mossad fucking hired students, I'm sure, or, that lobby. But I want to keep going down this because, like I said, it kind of was interesting to me that the woman who was shot's name is Renee Good. Like, if they didn't, they should have just named the cop like Joey Bad, or I swear to God, like it just seems like such an incredible op. But what really bothers me the most about all of this isn't kind of the protesters or the cops, because I expected both of those elements to be at play in this environment, especially the cops, because they've been here. They ain't going nowhere. They ain't going nowhere under a Republican regime, and they definitely ain't going nowhere under a Democratic regime. And if you think the answer to the ICE protests is voting for Democrats, you're a fucking moron of epic proportions. And that's all I want to say about that. But I also want to bring to the table why I hate these despicable liberals and conservatives who play team sport. So this is a good example of how the liberals reacted to Ashley Babbitt when she was shot during the Capitol protest. And if you remember that, it was another instance where the use of extreme police force is cool depending on which cult you belong to, or bad depending on which cult you belong to. So all the people universally, I couldn't find one person who had any fucking level of consistency whatsoever on this. Well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe like Jimmy Dore. They're the people. There are legit people out there like Jimmy Dore, Max Blumenthal. Those people obviously had the right kind of consistent take because they have principles. They're not partisan hacks. But all the people like this guy, Angry Stafford, this is like a major fucking shit lib account. We were 5 minutes ago, he was like, oh, it's terrible what they did to George Floyd. Oh my God. Then 5 minutes later, he's like, let's all celebrate fuck around and find out day for Ashley Babbitt. Like how many years later is that? 4 years later, and this guy's still obsessing over, the state executing someone and being happy about it. Where now that it's, this woman, it's an American tragedy, and this is the thing that really pisses me off about the modern political debate. And this is also how I know who's legit and who's a piece of shit, because the people who are legit will be consistent across the board, whether the killing affects Democrat or Republican politics. But the people who are partisan hacks will have differing views depending on what the politics of the victim are. So in the case of Renee Good, of course, it's a major league outrage, and every single Democratic pundit, the Kyle Kalinskis and all these cunts who think they're, who have audiences, God knows why. But they're out here right now going like, oh, these fascists, when 4 years ago they're going, yeah, fuck around and find out. See what happens when you try to mess with the government. Now they're like, oh my God, did you see what the government just did to this poor lady? Yeah. And you're just as guilty of enabling this shit as anyone for condoning it when it's someone whose politics you don't like. So fuck off with your hypocritical nonsense. let's watch a quick refresher on the Ashley Babbitt situation in case you missed it or you are unaware of what occurred on that day.
At 2:42 p.m., journalist Taylor Hansen is walking behind Ashley Babbitt, an Air Force veteran from California, as she turns a corner and approaches the speaker's lobby, guarded by 3 police officers. MPD officer Luke Foskett approaches a window and looks out upon the crowd on the western side of the Capitol building.
You're live, right? Yeah.
Moments later, members of the House seek shelter in the gallery while officers barricade entry into the chamber. It is at this moment that the only firearm to be discharged inside the Capitol that day can be loudly heard.
Okay, so now this is where it gets real. So now here you can say, okay, these people are about to bust through, so what this guy did was deserved. I don't agree. You could arrest her. These people are not armed. None of these people have. So what you have there is a group of people doing a protest, unarmed. Sure. Was that scary? Sure. Like, I mean, you could definitely argue that she was trying to climb the fence. Action needed to be taken of some sort. Did it need to be deadly force, though? Never. I would argue a pair of handcuffs, a taser. They weren't going to get through that barricade. And as soon as the camera turns, you see a bunch of cops coming up the fucking stairs in SWAT gear because they heard a gunshot. So it's pretty clear this idea that these people were about to take over the government is the most retarded, hysterical nonsense that I've ever heard. And the reason that they're not letting some of this out, I realized the other day, is there's so many people that lied and used. I watched this thing. I wish I had grabbed this clip, but Glenn Greenwald had a bit on the ADL, and homeboy from the ADL, Adam Greenblatt or whatever the guy's name is, Greenblatt, whatever that guy's name is, he used January 6th. He's like, oh, we got as one of the things that the ADL looks to, like, for violent extremists. He used so to me that says that explains a lot as to why, with the pipe bomber thing, it's like, oh, we found the actual person through gate software, and they're like, never mind that, here's the real guy. They have to protect this narrative at all costs that January 6th was the worst thing to ever happen in this insane violent insurrection, because they've all built a house of cards on top of it. But let's look at footage of Renee Good next and compare, because to me, this doesn't look that much different. It's protesters getting in the way of a legal law enforcement operation. And this is from Nick Sorter, who's kind of a right-wing propagandist, if I'm being honest. And of course, they showed this angle, but let's just watch, because this is from the cops' point of view.
Change our plates every morning.
So I want to stop right there, because this is the cop filming her license plate, which to me means he could have gotten out of the way and let her take it off and then gone to her house and arrested her later. Imagine that, doing a little work to legally get someone and not just being a lazy fuck who has to fire a gun when you feel threatened in any way, shape, or form. Now, listen, this is where it gets complicated, because, like I said, by the same token, put yourself in these guys' shoes. You have all of this NGO money coming at you. They're funding these protests. They're sending people out to get in your way as you're trying to do, albeit it's not a job I would do, but these guys are trying to do the job they've been hired to do. No, but it's not fun work, I'm sure. Maybe for some of them it is. Maybe for a lot of them it is. I don't know. But I think the amount of shootings in America, more than anything, is a symbol of how lazy we are. Like you can just fix the problem by going bang, bang, instead of like talking to someone or like doing the actual police work to go, oh, I have her license on footage on my on my phone. We'll go get her later. When she gets home, we'll just go to her house and arrest her. Instead, this guy has to position himself in front of her so that he can justify blowing her brains out because she's coming at him in a deadly weapon.
So you know, it'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking veteran.
So again, just to make the comparison to Ashley Babbitt, these women are harassing federal agents. They're out here getting in their faces, causing problems, obstructing a law enforcement operation. I would never fucking do this ever. Because here's the other thing, and this is the thing that people just don't think about with this. Go to court, fight in court, get lawyers. I'm like, raise money for lawyers for these people to fight their case in court. You going and trying to get between cops and arresting people that they think are illegal is just going to cause more problems. And in a lot of cases, all they want to do is check their ID, or they'll detain them for a moment and check their citizenship and then let them go. And then it doesn't have to escalate to anything, you know? So it's like, I've never been in a situation where a cop came up to me and asked me for my ID. And I was like, fuck you, dude. You can't have that. Fuck you. And I'm a white guy, you know? I'm not going to act like I'm entitled to be like, oh yeah, you don't have to, you can't know who I am. Ha ha ha, Mr. Officer. And I ain't no fucking fascist, but that's just common sense. And when you put yourself in these situations, you're bound to get into this kind of trouble. Like Ashley Babbitt, as much as I think that the state should not have executed her, she also was putting herself in a position where someone was bound to do something to use some kind of force. And again, I don't support the use of deadly force on anyone unless they are using themselves deadly force, like mass shooters. Fine, shoot those people. They've already killed 20 kids in a classroom. I don't expect you to take those people alive. But when there's no guns, like that guy said in the video, there was one gunshot fired in the Capitol. It was by that dickhead who was scared because someone was like at the gate, even though there was a fucking million cops in the building and layers of protection for them. And again, it's like, let them get in there. It's the people's house. Let them get in there. Let them take a shit on the Pelosi's desk or whatever. There's cameras everywhere. Then you go arrest them for vandalism or whatever the charge is. And that's that. That's how the system is supposed to work. It's not supposed to be this vigilante justice where everyone just fucking shoots at each other like it's 1805 and we're all fucking in Tombstone, Arizona or some shit. So anyway, good protest, bad protest. Good protest, bad protest, guys. Just remember, if you're going to protest fascism and authoritarianism and government overreach, you need to be from the correct political party, or you deserve what you get. So just to show you another example of this ridiculousness, this is another kind of liberal fucking defiant L here. Daily reminder that Ashley Babbitt was an anti-American terrorist traitor who got off too easy, took the easy way out by committing suicide by cop. She should have been court-martialed and sentenced to life of hard labor. I think this person's Canadian, by the way. At Fort Leavenworth, breaking big rocks into little rocks. I support fascism because I don't agree. I support the full force of the state because I don't agree with this person's politics and they deserve to be locked up forever and have the key thrown away.
What's your name, scumbag?
And here's, of course, the opposite opinion when it comes to a different kind of protest. If this happened in Iran, they'd condemn it. But when white Christian American women are murdered in the streets by masked terrorist gunmen after dropping their kids off at elementary school, suddenly MAGA Republicans are all in favor of terrorists killing white Christian women. Wow, terrorists killing white Christian women. I'm pretty sure Ashley Babbitt was a white Christian woman. And again, you're just showing your whole ass out here with this. And this is the thing. There's no common sense in it. Again, this woman did not deserve to be shot by any stretch of the imagination. I'm talking about Renee Good. Neither one of these women did. Mace them. You smack her with a billy club, even. You probably shouldn't do that either, but it's better than shooting her. Mace her, cuff her. And again, in this case, I just showed you the video. The guy was filming her license plate. It's not like she was just going to get off scot-free if they had got out of the way and let her take off. They could have called it into the local police and said, hey, this woman just assaulted us. Please arrest her. And the police would have had to do that. Maybe the police didn't have to do it. I don't know. Maybe some of the police are against the... I think it's a pretty safe bet that the police are on the same team as ICE, guys. If you think otherwise, I would question your sanity just a little bit. But the last component of this, and I want to circle back once again to the well-meaning supporters of the underdogs, because that's what I am. The last piece of this puzzle is why these NGOs are spending all this money to make you mad and make you go obstruct ICE. They're using government money to get you to do the dirty work of corporations who have built a system of cheap labor with illegal immigration. And, I don't approve of the methodology that maybe the Trump people are using to make this a reality, to kind of like enforce the immigration laws. But also, it doesn't matter what you do. These NGOs and these things are going to make it look way worse than it is. Anyway, if Obama or Hillary had gone as hard as Trump was going, I guarantee you these NGOs would have came out. You know why? Because they're controlled by multinational corporations who own our country. They own the politicians. They own the fucking lobbies. They own the goddamn fucking air you breathe and the water you drink. And that is the side of this that liberals don't ever consider when they're out in the streets, doing performative anti-ICE protests and getting shot at and beaten by cops, because they're basically trying to help perpetuate a broken system that relies on trafficked illegal labor and hurts the country in a lot of ways. So here is a tweet from a guy, Joshua Steinman. Companies that hire illegals don't pay taxes on the wages paid, which allows them to undercut competitors who hire American and who therefore need to pay payroll taxes. A vicious cycle that puts Americans out of work. And he's retweeting, in Kenner, Louisiana, entire illegal alien roofing crew just got detained. They left behind ladders, nail guns, shingles, and more. Donated all to the companies that actually hire Americans. So this is of course the methodology that I would prefer in this kind of this illegal immigration crackdown. Go after the people that are enabling it. It's like instead of throwing, poison in the ant hole, like trying to poison each individual ant that's in your house or roach, instead of trying to stop it at the center, like poison the nest where they're coming from. And this probably isn't a great analogy. My point is that if you really want to solve the problem, you go at the enablers of the problem. And the enablers of the problem are not poor illegal immigrants coming here to make money and a better life for themselves. The enablers of the problem are Walmart. The enablers of the problem are Tyson Foods. The enablers of the problem are these little companies right here, these local companies that are taking advantage of cheap labor to outbid their competitors or, do that kind of stuff. And that is the real problem that they need to go after. And so I want to show you real quick. And I don't necessarily agree with everything this guy says here, but this guy did a really great breakdown on this. His name's Harrison Smith, I believe. I think he's one of the Alex Jones InfoWars alumni who left the company, if I remember correctly. But watch this. This is really good, actually.
You may have seen this headline about Tyson's Food firing 1,300 American staff workers at an Iowa pork plant while it offers 42,000 asylum seekers jobs in New York. But this is just really the tip of the iceberg. It's part of a society-wide deliberate attempt to basically replace white people in the workforce. And I'm going to show you who's behind it. And
so I want to say clearly, because he makes it look like, oh, this is anti-white racism. I don't think it's that deep, homie. I think it's just cheap illegal labor over American labor. Whether you're black, white, Asian, Mexican, it doesn't matter. There's plenty of American-born Asian and black and Hispanic people that are suffering as a result of this. So it's not a race thing. He kind of makes it a race thing, which is the only part I'm a little iffy on. The rest of it's very well researched, though. Watch.
And how it's working out right now. But first, let's take a look at some overall trends. Corporate America pledged to hire more people of color. It actually did. So out of all of the new jobs created, 300,000, 94 of them went to people of color, while only 6% went to white people, which is odd considering that white people...
You don't take into account like employment rates. Maybe a lot of those white people are already employed, you know, like I don't know what the unemployment rate is among white people, but it's probably lower than it is in minority communities. Just a hunch.
For 60% of the population, but you can see here, white people actually lost nearly 1 million jobs since February 2020, while every other racial group has gained jobs. Together, they gained about 4 million, while whites alone lost 1 million.
Now, listen, I lost my job in 2022, and I have yet been able to get a job again in the kind of industry that I worked in. And I don't blame it on being white at all. I blame it on that I'm a little bit older. The industry I worked in was probably more geared towards like younger college kids. They could get someone that can do kind of the same like administrative and managerial types of shit I was doing in the office for way cheaper, fresh out of college. So I don't necessarily I wouldn't make this a race thing. I would make it an American citizen versus cheap illegal labor thing, because that's more what it is. I'm sure there are racists in the mix or whatever that really hate white people or whatever, but they're the vast minority, like a tiny percentile of the problem is that it's more, again, an economic thing. These companies don't care about race. They don't care about gender. They care about money. They care about the balance sheet.
The change in the employment since October 2019, foreign-born workers have gained 3 million jobs and native-born workers have lost 1.4 million jobs. But let's get back to...
That's the framing. That's the correct framing. Native-born workers and foreign-born workers. Because the dynamic there is... let me shut up and let him go. He gets into something.
Tyson. So Tyson said it would shutter a pork plant in Perry, Iowa, over 1,200 people. But they also closed 2 facilities in Virginia and Arkansas that employed more than 1,600 people last year. Tyson Foods is the world's second largest animal protein producer, the biggest in North America. The company produces 1 out of every 5 pounds of chicken, pork, and beef consumed in the U.S. So it already employs about 42,000 immigrants amongst its 120-strong U.S. workforce. So about a third of the workers at Tyson are already foreign-born. As they fire thousands of Americans, they are actually hiring 42,000 illegal immigrants. Not only is Tyson hiring illegal immigrants while they fire Americans, they're also giving the illegal immigrants immigration lawyers, paid time off to attend court hearings, temporary housing, on-site childcare, transportation, and English classes. And this is happening under a program called the Tent Program.
So that's how much cheaper it is to hire, immigrant labor than it is an American, that they're willing to have all these programs. And I guarantee you those programs are probably subsidized through an NGO or a government entity.
So what
like
is
that.
The Tent Program? Well, you can read about it here. A new approach to supporting refugees. Here's the thing. These aren't refugees. These people aren't asylum seekers. When you come into the country illegally, if you claim asylum or request a refugee status, then you're automatically paroled into the United States. You can then get a job. They'll provide you a lawyer to make the argument that you are a refugee or asylum seeker. And it's all a giant scam because none of these people are actually fleeing war or persecution. It allows them to most effectively circumvent American law, get illegal immigrants in the country and working while they wait for their asylum hearing, which can take years. So it's a global business coalition, 400 major multinational companies. And this is the real interesting part, the part I wanted to
Watch
show
this.
you,
This is crazy.
is the sheer number and size of these organizations. ADP, Amazon, American Express. I mean, it's every big company. BBVA, Blackstone, of course, Bloomberg, BP, Cargill, Citibank, Cisco, Coca-Cola, CVS. I mean, it's all of them. Dow Chemical Company, Deutsche Bank, and it goes on and on. GM, GE, Goldman Sachs, Google. They're all a part of this. And so this organization is working with the biggest companies in the world, all of them it seems, to bring in illegal immigrants. Pfizer, of course, hire them into these companies, pay for their lawyers and immigration hearing, time off, stuff like that. And it's all in a deliberate attempt to give jobs to foreigners while taking them away and firing native-born Americans, particularly white ones. It's on purpose, it's deliberate, it's conspiracy, it's an attack.
Again, so just to summarize there, I agree with the major thrust of his argument there, and he has a lot of data to back it up. However, I don't think the race thing factors in at all. Again, corporations don't, as much as they virtue signal about gender and sexual preference and race and all, and anti-Semitism and all that shit, they don't give a shit about any of that. Corporations are people. Yeah, they're people that only care about their balance sheet. And you thought I was done, but I'm not done. Here is your boy Bernie Sanders backing up Harrison.
Open borders. That's a Koch brothers proposal. The idea, of course. I mean, that's a right-wing proposal, which says essentially there is no United States.
That's Ezra Klein, by the way. You can tell why he's ascended the ranks, because I don't think he was with the New York Times when he did this interview, but he is now. He's ascended the ranks by being a good little doggy here. Really? Oh, you think open borders is bad? Oh, what's wrong with you? You're supposed to be on the left. Good little doggy, Ezra.
But it would make a lot of the global poor richer, wouldn't it?
And it'd make everybody in America
Listen
poor.
to the argument that he's making. It'll make the global poor richer if we just leave open. Why don't we have open borders? It'll make the global poor richer. And what does Bernie say? It'll make Americans poorer.
And it'd make everybody in America poor. Then you're doing away with the concept of a nation state. And I don't think there's any country in the world which believes in that. If you believe in a nation state, or in a country called the United States, or UK, or Denmark, or any other country, you have an obligation, in my view, to do everything we can to help poor people. What right-wing people in this country would love is an open border policy. Bring in all kinds of people who work for $2 or $3 an hour. That would be great for them. I don't believe in that. I think we have to raise wages in this country. I think we have to do everything that we can to create the millions of jobs. Open borders.
Open borders.
So there you go. It is. I like what he said at the end of that there. He goes, I don't think any country believes that you shouldn't have borders. Like they wouldn't exist. Because I can't think of any country that I could just show up in and be like, okay, I'm at Home Depot, give me a job and a social security number. I'm part of your country now, and you got to take me. There's no countries that do that. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but my brother was just trying to live in Mexico City, and he had to come back every 90 days because he was on a temporary visa. He can't, as an American, he could not immigrate to Mexico and just show up at Home Depot and get a job. And so the reality is setting in, I think, with a lot of people, that this is a problem that we've ignored intentionally for a long time because of the people who benefit most from it. And you can say what you want about Trump and all these people. I don't think he's any better than any of them at this point. But again, this is one of those things where there's a lot at play to make you feel a certain way about it. And I've said this about everything from the beginning because this is what happened. This is the pattern with Trump since 2015, when he first started becoming a threat. Oh, he's working with Putin. He's a secret Russian spy. Now it's like, he's this, he's that. Even the Venezuela thing, I've heard theories that Maduro works with the CIA, or, they did that to like prevent a full scale regime change operation, or, and as I've said before, in a lot of cases, the old method of government, like the Democrats, like Obama is a great example. We elected Obama back in 2008 and we thought, okay, change is coming. Change is coming, you guys. Woo! Obama got right in. Good little doggy, did all the Bush Cheney war shit he was supposed to do under the guise of, yay, black president. And they were hoping they'd get Kamala so they could do all the shit that Trump's doing now, while we all cheered and went, yay, girl president, got Maduro, woo! So I say that because I want to close you out. Well, I'm not going to close you out with this, but I want to show you one more little piece to my presentation here today that I think kind of puts a nice icing on this cake and cookie, whatever you want to call it. Probably more of a cupcake today, because we're just doing a one issue show today. But check this out. This is a CNN report from when Obama was president. Get a load of this.
Just before the sun rises in the Windy City, Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents fan out across Chicago to arrest criminals in the U.S. illegally.
Tac 1, Tac 2, Tac 3.
CNN was granted exclusive access to witness some of those raids.
We got 3 targets this morning. Some of the neighborhoods a little sketchy, so we got to make sure it's not just the target we're looking at, but other people around us.
They want to come out extra early, like right now, because they want to catch these.
So imagine if under Obama, a bunch of clowns in pajama pants showed up and went, oh, what up, ICE? You can't arrest these people. We're going to stop you right now. Their heads would have got cracked just like they did last week.
People before they go to work. That's why it starts so early in the morning.
Ready to check? All right, let's roll, guys. A lot of things go through your head. Your adrenaline, blood pressure, of course, goes up when you're getting ready to do something like this. All right, that vehicle behind us is off limits.
How many people are involved with this operation, particularly right now?
I have a 5-man arrest team here situated in this neighborhood, here on the street. You see the stoop going up. I have a couple guys sitting right inside that stoop. This is part of what we do. Keep eyes on somebody and try to be as covert as we can. There we go. Is that him in white?
This may look organized, but in this moment, confusion.
There's always challenges we face when it's dark, somebody looks very similar to an individual.
ICE agents mistakenly arrest the target's brother.
In the process of...
Did you hear that? They mistakenly arrested the target's brother. Did you see the guy freak out and spit on him and call him names and tell him to go home?
Talking to him in the vehicle. He then said, oh, no, I'm actually so-and-so. Who you're looking for is over here, this other address. He led us to that address, and we were able to actually arrest the individual we were looking for.
So there you go. They actually made a mistake and detained the wrong guy. And the guy didn't freak out and throw a fit and spit on him. He just said, hey, look, I'm not the guy you're looking for. Here's my ID. The guy you're looking for is probably over there. He sold out his neighbor, which I don't know if I would have done that. But the point is just to show you that this can be handled in a way that, and also say they arrest this other guy and he's legal. That's when you fight it in court. That's when, you go, okay, we're going to take this to the courts. And if he has legal justification to be here, he's going to stay without anyone getting shot or clubbed in the head or any of that. So there you have it. There is so much going on and there's so much hysteria that it's hard to cut through the bullshit and see things rational. But like I tell my kids, nothing on the internet is real. And the way that I showed you that AI generated video of the black dude, the conservative podcaster, and the black dude saying, oh, I don't have a job. Yeah, they can generate anything they want you to see and pipe it down your gullet and make you feel a certain way about a certain issue all day long. But you have to remember that it's all fake and you have to cut through the nonsense. And with this kind of stuff too, again, it can be fought in the courts. That's where you win these battles. You're not going to win these battles by going out and getting between fucking federal law enforcement officers and their suspects. You're just going to make yourself look like an ass, create more violence, create a even more brutal reaction. I think now Trump has National Guard in fucking Minnesota, you know? And again, to Trump's credit, to some degree, he was voted in to do this, and he's not going to, and they're going to go full force with it. And even though I don't necessarily agree with their tactics, I have to respect that, you know, will to see it through, because, you know, if a Democrat had got elected on a mandate to like fix the immigration problem and bring wages up, they would be going through the same shit and they would fold immediately. They'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. We didn't know. Please just open the borders back up. We're sorry we did anything wrong. Tail between their legs, turn around. You know, we're going to see in the next couple of years what effect this has. And it could be bad. And if it's bad, we should course correct. But we're one of the only countries in the world that has allowed this problem to get to the level that it's at. And I'm actually kind of glad to see them doing something about it, even if it's not in the kind of way that I would hope that they would do it. And so I want to close you out today with one last slide from JD Vance here. He says, just spoke with a guy who owns a small business complaining about the fact that he pays his employees $18 to $20 minimum, but the people who hire illegal aliens, they love to use that term, pay them $6.50 an hour and hurt his business. Many of the people threatening law enforcement and interfering with deportations are just mad that this system is coming to an end. And again, I don't even think a lot of the protesters know that they're being used by those people. The people that are mad that the system is coming to an end aren't just regular people with jobs. It's these multinational corporations who have access to NGOs to propagandize you into being vehemently anti-ICE and going out there and getting your head cracked on their behalf, so they can try to keep the status quo in place and keep driving wages down and keep cheating people and be scumbags, you know? And I don't think, you know, you look at Trump, the big picture of Trump, it's not good. It's not pretty. I don't think he has the working classes in mind. So the other side of this too is that there are, of course, private prisons that are going to bank off this open border thing, this immigration crackdown too, because there are companies that are going to house the illegals that will make money. So there is that aspect of it as well. You know, the pro immigration enforcement side has their own set of corrupt, you know, rationale for doing this too. Nothing is perfect in this world. But as I've said multiple times, what people want more than anything is interruption of the status quo. And this is a fucking interruption of the status quo. Again, maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe it's complete nonsense. Maybe I'm on the wrong side of it. Let me know in the comments if you have, you know, information that I missed, or I'm open to admit if I'm wrong. But just from a rational standpoint, looking at all the evidence and all the like left-right hysteria around this, and the way that Democrat politicians have talked on the campaign trail versus how they have acted when they get elected. You know, Obama did speech after speech. I almost brought a speech to this that he did about how we needed to crack down on immigration to improve wages and stuff. So this is something the Democrats have been talking about. They'll speak to it on the campaign trail, much like Trump with the Epstein files. But then when they get into office, they won't do anything about it. So thank you for tuning in today. I'm going to start doing these streams a little more one-off on single issues, because I think my mentality, I've always kind of had the Jimmy Dore mindset, the way Jimmy does it. He does the live stream and then clips it up into segments, but I don't have the staff or the resources that Jimmy has. So I have to kind of, you know, go, like I said at the beginning, go to war with the army I have, not the army I want. So I think this is the best way for me. I actually feel good about the content of this broadcast and, you know, what I brought to the table. I didn't ramble too much. I had a lot of really good pieces of information to share with you guys. And I think that's how I'm going to continue moving forward. I'll just do these streams kind of like one-off on single issues, maybe branch off a little bit, but coming soon is going to be an Iran protest one, maybe even tonight. But again, thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to leave a space here for some additional videos as we go out, and like and subscribe, all that good shit. And we'll see you next time. Please hit me in the comments if you have, maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe there's parts of this I'm missing. If you have something, let me know. I want to hear from you. Take care of yourselves out there, and we'll see you next time.